This is PTV World. I am Syed SHABAHAT and you are watching Fault Lines. Pakistan and China have successfully completed 70 years of their diplomatic relationship. The diplomatic relationship between both the countries kept on improving throughout these 70 years. But in this 21st century, when China has an extremely significant role in the economic order of the world, both the countries are entering into a new phase of their economic and diplomatic relationship. And a key turning point of this recent phase was the visit of Prime Minister of Pakistan, who in February 2022 visited Beijing to participate in the Winter Olympics. And as well as on the sidelines, he met President Xi Jinping and several other important dignitaries in China. China has a very important role in not only in this region, but in the overall political order of the world. And at this time, when CPAC is entering into the second phase, it is very important for us to understand what are the expectations between both the sides when it comes to the politics and diplomacy between the two countries. I've requested Pakistan's ambassador to China, His Excellency Moinul Haq, to be a part of my program today. And I have him in this program. But before I bring him in, watch the package prepared by Mati.
China and Pakistan have enjoyed a close and mutually beneficial relationship since the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1951. Both countries remain steadfast diplomatic, strategic and economic allies despite tectonic shifts in geopolitical order. Strategic engagement is a crucial component of Pakistan-China alliance, as emergence of Quad and other hostile military alliances has rendered Pakistan a strategic window for stable Asia-Pacific security architecture. Since the beginning of 2020, two militaries have maintained close high-level strategic cooperation, communication, and carried out pragmatic cooperation in related fields, testifying their brotherhood and friendship. Exhibiting a deeper economic bond, multi-billion-dollar CPEC remains catalyst to instigate economic growth in Pakistan while overhauling its infrastructure. It is significantly contributing to resolving the electricity shortage and infrastructure woes in a cost-effective manner. With CPEC and BRI in progress, new vistas of cooperation have opened up both for bilateral as well as regional and global development in a bid to usher universal prosperity. Pakistan is learning from China's successful development experiences and following the footsteps of China, which developed strong industrialization by becoming a large manufacturing hub of the world. Owing to unprecedented success of Pakistan-China economic cooperation, enemies are peddling baseless conspiracies and sabotage activities to hamper blossoming bilateral ties of Himalayan neighbors. Pakistan-China axis is quite unique and probably without precedent in the recent diplomatic history of the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now joined by Pakistan's ambassador to China, His Excellency Moinul Haq. Ambassador Saab, welcome to the program.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, SHABAHAT Saab, for having me on this very popular PTV World program, Fault Lines. I'm very happy to be here and it's very timely and looking forward to our interaction.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Saab, for your kind comments. The first thing I would want to ask you is that after completing 70 years of a diplomatic relationship, both the countries are coming even further closer. And there are various issues that both the countries want to concentrate on, particularly the economic interest of the two states that are interwoven. Have we been able to fully capitalize on the opportunities that China extends to Pakistan?
SHABAHAT, as you know, China-Pakistan relationship is very unique, very special. We call ourselves Iron Brothers. We have all-weather strategic partnership, a relationship which has stood the test of time. It is time-tested, timeless. No matter what has been the circumstances in global politics, our two countries have always been together in difficult times, in bad times. And recent years, as you know, China has become our largest trading partner. China has, for a long time, has been a very important source of foreign direct investments. And now the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is a flagship project of President Xi Belt and Road Initiative, has transformed the economic landscape of Pakistan. As you know, it's a multi-billion-dollar project which has addressed our acute energy needs. It has upgraded our physical infrastructure, transport infrastructure. Gwadar port is being developed. In the next phase of CPEC, we will be setting up special economic zones, industries will be coming, agriculture is going to be modernized, and we are also focusing on IT and socio-economic developments, especially focusing on the remote areas of Pakistan. So China, being a very close strategic partner, a very important defense partner, and the largest trading partner of Pakistan, has really played a very important role in terms of economic prosperity of Pakistan and improving the livelihoods of the people of Pakistan. We really cherish and value this relationship. And last year, our two countries celebrated the 70 years of our diplomatic ties, which has brought a new dimension, a new vigor and vitality to this relationship. So I'm very confident this relationship is poised for greater glory.
Ambassador Saab, China has a very important role in the international economic system at the moment. And during last 40 years, it has progressed a lot. But these 40 years have been 40 years of a peaceful economic rise. And I'm sure there are lessons that are to be learned from this economic peaceful rise of China. How do you see this peaceful rise, and what do you think are the lessons for the rest of the world in it, sir?
China's peaceful rise in the last 40 years, its economic development and progress is indeed remarkable. Its country has been, the GDP of China has been growing at a rate of 8 to 10% in the last 3-4 decades, which is unprecedented. And since I've been here for the last 1.5 years, and I have traveled a lot in China, and wherever I go, I'm impressed by the scale of this development. It has brought prosperity to the people of China. As you know, last year China attained one of the first sanitary goals of lifting almost 800 million people out of poverty. Our Prime Minister has said many times that this is a miracle of modern times. And China's also had made important strides in terms of in the field of IT, industry, special economic zone, and that propelled China to a stage that President Xi's had launched its Belt and Road Initiative, a very important initiative, which is now, there are more than 120 countries which are partner of BRI, including Pakistan, which is helping those especially poor in developing countries in terms of improving their economies, connecting cultures, connecting communities, improving the livelihoods of the people, creating jobs. So this China's reform, China's economic progress is not only helping their own people, but the world at large.
Ambassador Saab, in February 2022, Prime Minister of Pakistan had a very important visit of China. He met President Xi Jinping, and there were many other meetings. Since you were there, a part of these meetings, and you were there in Beijing, assisting Pakistan's delegations, all these meetings, what are your feelings? How motivated or how happy or how satisfied you are with these recent interactions between the two sides?
Yes, SHABAHAT Prime Minister's visit was very important, as you know. He visited China on the special invitation of the Chinese leadership to attend the opening ceremony of the Beijing Winter Olympics, and at a time when there were calls for diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics, and it was a solidarity visit as well. But since it was taking place after a gap of 2 years because of the pandemic, the two sides attached great importance to the visit, and especially Prime Minister face-to-face meetings with President Xi and Premier Li were extremely important, not only to reaffirm the strategic relationship between our two countries, but also to agree on new vision for the CPAC and our economic relationship. You must have seen the joint statement which was issued after the visit, which was very comprehensive and which had listed some of the new projects, like launching of 5 new corridors: China-Pakistan digital corridor, green corridor, health corridor, and trade and industry corridor. A very important framework agreement on industrialization was signed, which will help in the next phase of CPAC. We have agreed to a very important project in Gwadar, which is a recycling project for the metals and paper. A very comprehensive project it's going to set up in Gwadar. And then we have also agreed to promote our tourism. Then in 2023, we are going to celebrate a year of tourism exchanges between our two countries. So, and Prime Minister also met more than 20 Chinese state-owned and private enterprises, which briefed Prime Minister about their projects and new proposed projects, which are multi-billion-dollar projects in Pakistan in the field of energy, in the field of housing, in the field of IT and infrastructure. So I'm sure that in the days to come, you will see more positive outcome of this very important visit of the Prime Minister.
Ambassador, there are many people talking about the phase 2 of CPAC project. It's drawing a lot of attention in the media in Pakistan. And since you were there when the meetings were taking place in China, tell us about the phase 2 of CPAC. Does it have any specific projects that you would like to elaborate, or that you would want to mention specifically here?
As I mentioned earlier, that CPAC phase 1 was mostly focused on infrastructure projects, energy projects, upgrading Pakistan's hard infrastructure. And now phase 2 is basically be focusing on industrialization, upgrading Pakistan or modernizing Pakistan's agriculture sector, and also as well as science and technology and IT. It is in sync with the government's socio-economic agenda to create jobs, to improve livelihoods, to eradicate poverty. So basically now the two countries are working on various programs, action plan, and research projects and different other projects to implement the phase 2 as we move phase 2. And also the development of Gwadar port, where we are going to set up free trade zone, a zone for agriculture, a zone for industry, is also will be very important part of the phase.
Ambassador Moin, you meet the Chinese side more often, as I expect, and you must be aware of their concerns with regards to Afghanistan. Afghanistan hasn't settled as yet. Its economic collapse is quite evident, and certainly there will be concerns of the Chinese with regards to Afghanistan.
Yes, Afghanistan is a very important and close neighbor of both Pakistan and China, and both our countries are concerned with the developments in Afghanistan for many years. Both countries have suffered in terms of the instability which has impacted our countries, people and economy. So after the fall of Kabul in August last year, the two countries have been very closely coordinating and in touch with the interim government in Kabul as well. As you know, that at the initiative of China and Pakistan, we have started a mechanism of 6 neighboring countries of Afghanistan, meeting of that. First one was held in Islamabad, second was held in Iran, and third is going to be held in China in late March this month. And our foreign minister, along with the foreign ministers of the 6 neighboring countries of Afghanistan, will be participating in that meeting. And our, of course, focus is that the acute humanitarian situation, economic situation in Afghanistan, we try to avert that. We try to help the people of Afghanistan, urge the international community to stand with Afghanistan in terms of helping them in this difficult time. At the same time, we are also engaging with the Taliban interim government to urging them to the promises that they have made to the international community in terms of their the inclusivity of their political structure, their governing structure, and also taking steps for the women and other human rights issues. We are also urging and nudging Taliban to meet their and their promises to the international community. But we do hope that this regional mechanism will be very important in taking ownership of our own problems at our and addressing them in the region ourselves, instead of a solution being imposed.
Moin, you have, Ambassador Moin, you were with the Prime Minister when he participated in the inauguration ceremony of Beijing Olympics. And Beijing Winter Olympics was quite unique from this angle as well, that Beijing has now become a very unique city that has hosted Olympics and then Winter Olympics. Not only that, but its performance in all disciplines of sports is also improving a lot. And that shows that China has developed its sports sector to a remarkable extent. What are your thoughts about this recent Beijing Olympics, sir?
Yes, SHABAHAT, you're very right that Beijing is now the only country to host both summer and winter Olympics. And let me first congratulate the government of China and the people of China on a very successful and safe holding of the Winter Olympics. And I attended the ceremony with the Prime Minister, the opening ceremony, and I must say it was very impressive. In fact, Prime Minister also, while talking to the Chinese media, said that he has never seen such a dazzling and impressive show in his life before. And the Winter Olympics have ended, and a large number of countries participated, athletes, thousands of athletes participated, also from many European and Western countries. And they in fact, Norway was on the top of the table and winning most of the medals. So these athletes were very much effusive in their praise about the arrangements that China has made for this visit. So yes, China has become a very strong sporting nation, and we are looking, we are exploring areas of cooperation in this field. Our Prime Minister also said during the visit that he would like the China to share its experiences, and China to invest in upgrading our sports infrastructure, especially our mountains, for developing ski resorts and other ice sports infrastructure in the country. So in the coming days, this will be a very important area of cooperation between our two.
Ambassador, I had the honor of having China's ambassador, Mr. Rong Hong, His Excellency Rong Hong, in the same program. And I asked him a pressing question. The question was about the human rights violations that the Western media says these are true allegations. That is what the Western media's point of view is. I would want to play his response and take your comments on that. When it comes to China, there is a lot of Western media outlets making propaganda about the issues of Uyghur Muslims living in China. There are serious allegations of forced labor and genocide taking place, and what they say is that they have data and statistics and everything. We have seen very little coming to the surface from China. I want you to comment on it and help us to understand why all of this is happening in the Western media.
你提了一个非常好的问题，那我想的话呢，我们只要是公正的对待这个有关的各方面的信息的话，就不难发现在新疆维吾尔自治区的真相。我们前不久我们中国也组织了这个有关国家的外交官到新疆去实地考察，也包括我们巴基斯坦驻中国的大使哈克大使阁下他在参观了新疆以后所向媒体叙述的我想这可以帮助非常有力的揭示了新疆的真相，可以帮助巴基斯坦。
Ambassador, to add into my excitement, and a major reason why I wanted so desperately you in this program was when Prime Minister was talking to Fareed Zikaria in his recent interview. He also mentioned you there in person. Watch the clip again.
You have strongly supported China, including in its actions in Xinjiang. You're the leader of one of the largest Muslim countries in the world. The United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, as you know, have boycotted the Olympics diplomatically because they say China is engaging in what they term a cultural genocide against Muslims in Xinjiang. Do you see it differently?
Fareed, firstly, we had our ambassador, Abinul Haq. He went to Xinjiang, and according to his observations, the picture is not what was being portrayed on the Western media. But more importantly, from our point of view in Pakistan, Kashmir is a disputed territory between Pakistan and India. Over the last 35 years, approximately, the figure varies, about 100,000 Kashmiris have died. Since 5th August 2019, the Indians have revoked the status of Kashmir, which unilaterally, which is, according to the United Nations Security Council, a disputed territory between Pakistan and India. There are extrajudicial killings going on. There are no rights there. There's clampdown there. There are 800,000 Indian troops in the Kashmir Valley. Now, I find it very difficult that there is hardly any indignation about what is happening in Kashmir compared to what is happening or what they say is happening in Xinjiang. So that's where I disagree with this. We as Pakistanis feel very strongly that this should be even-handed.
You have strong...
Ambassador, both of these statements bring me back to you. So please tell the audience of this program, what have you seen there in Xinjiang and how good or bad did you find the situation there?
Yes, I visited Xinjiang last year with a group of ambassadors. I visited the important cities of Urumqi, Kashgar and Aksu, and it was a very important visit, and I must say I was very much impressed with the scale of development in Xinjiang. They have now high-speed train which connects Xinjiang to the rest of China. The industry, there are so many industries which have been set up in Xinjiang. We visited many mosques and religious institutions, very impressive, where we also met with the students who were studying religious teachings being taught there. We also visited some of the local people. We went to their homes and talked to them about their lives and all these allegations of human rights which have been labeled against them. I must say this is all I think false propaganda against China and against Xinjiang. I was impressed by the beauty of the place, by the diversity of the place. There are more than 50 ethnic communities which are living in Xinjiang. And with Pakistan, it has very close historic, cultural and trading ties. Xinjiang and Gilgit-Baltistan are close to each other. We are neighbors. Our corridor, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, traverses through this region, and so it's very important for us, this region. And also, SHABAHAT, I think it's very important that our policy on this is based on this principle of non-interference in other countries' affairs. And being a member of UN, I think we follow that principle. And also, I think the Prime Minister also mentioned that though while the world criticized China on human rights in Xinjiang, which is its internal part, and all that false accusations against China, but they forget to criticize India for its human rights violations in Kashmir, which is a disputed territory. And there's silence from the Western world against those very serious human rights violations in Kashmir, in Indian occupied Kashmir, is really alarming and glaring.
Ambassador, for bringing this out, and I'm sure this is quite remarkable, as you not only have responded to my question, but you have also given us the footages and the pictures of your that visit. Now coming to the last question of my program, sir. Both the countries are going hands in hands together for over 70 years now, and we are cooperating with each other in many areas, but there must be some targets that you, being Pakistan ambassador to China, must be aiming at. What are the targets that you believe Pakistan has set forth to capitalize more on the diplomatic relationship with a power as big as China?
Yes, SHABAHAT, last year was a milestone in our diplomatic relationship journey, 70 years of our diplomatic ties, very important year. And I personally see a very promising future for our relationship. As you know, we have always enjoyed very close political, defense and strategic ties. But in the recent years, as I mentioned earlier, that we are focusing more and more on the economic side, investment and trade sides. After the launch of the phase 2 of China-Pakistan Free Trade Agreement, our bilateral trade volume is increasing very, very fast. In fact, last year we saw a record volume of bilateral trade. It touched $28 billion, and Pakistan export to China was also unprecedented figures, $3.6 billion. So I see in the future that there are so many opportunities to tap, which can double, in my view, double this bilateral trade and Pakistan's export to China in the next 3-5 years. And then, of course, from the investment point of view, you know, we spoke about CPAC. I can see a bright future for high quality development of CPAC, especially for industrialization of Pakistan. So we are working with Chinese enterprises and inviting them to invest in our country, where very attractive policies have been set up, and CPAC authority is there, which is facilitating Chinese investors, and very attractive policies, specific policies have been made for the Chinese investors under the CPAC umbrella. So I see a very important, I think, development and new initiatives and projects coming under CPAC in the future. And thirdly, I think, which is a very important area, is culture, bringing our two people together. Last year, for the 70-year celebration, we saw that how this sentiment of friendship, goodwill, and brotherhood permeates the Chinese society. So we would like to cash on that and continue that momentum. We had established now more than 40 sister city and sister province relationship. So we would like to see that more practical cooperation between our two people continues in the years to come. So we were very confident of the future.
Moinul Haq. Thank you very much, Ambassador Moinul Haq, for being a guest in my program. Your participation in this program has great value for not only for us but also for the viewers, because what you have brought in for us is a fresh spectrum, and thank you very much for your participation in our show, sir.
I thank you, SHABAHAT, for giving me this opportunity to talk about this very special relationship between our two countries. And I hope that the message from this program, from your program, will be sent very loud and clear to not only in Pakistan but around the world about the strong relationship that we have between our two countries, the strong consensus that exists between our two leadership of our two countries, and especially the friendship and the and very close affection and love that exists between our two people.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break and join back with another segment of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back. 3 more Palestinians have been killed brutally by Israeli soldiers in Palestine. And the problem of Palestine is not settling down. With each passing day, their problems are exacerbating. An important factor here is the success of Israel's diplomacy that has successfully drawn the attention of many Arab states, which previously had hostility with Israel. This has not only created more diplomatic problems for the people of Palestine, but it is also becoming more evident that their miseries are catching less attention even from the international media. Let's take a quick stock take of situation in Palestine and try to understand what problems are coming and what problems are causing these issues for the people of Palestine, as evidently their political disintegration is expanding further with each passing day. I'm joined by Hamid Ghulamzadeh. He is Director of House of Diplomacy in Tehran and an expert of Middle Eastern affairs. Hamid, I welcome you to my program. My first question is about this two-state solution that is often discussed in the media, and still it's not accepted by the international community. How do you comment on this two-state solution being proposed by many think tanks?
Thank you very much, SHABAHAT Ali, for having me. Even if they actually reach an agreement on that, that would not be a lasting solution, because the two-state solution is just a remedy to a problem which is much deeper than they claim would be resolved by a two-state solution or anything like that. The point is that the Zionist, the Israeli regime, has occupied that land, and that belongs to the Palestinians. So even if you accept a two-state solution, it is not a true and real answer to that problem of the usurpation and occupation of that land. And the point is that the election has not been held actually among the Palestinians, and the public figures are not actually representing only public in the Palestinian territory. And the Palestinians want their lands back. It's not like that you can agree upon something just to remain in power, in office, and just to find a short remedy so that you can stay longer in office, or you can just settle some conflicts with the occupying regime that you are facing. So it is not even if they can reach an agreement on that, which sounds impossible because of the mentality and the nature of the Zionist regime and its officials, it doesn't seem to be anything lasting.
And would you agree with me if I say that the administration of United States and Israel in the past, I mean the previous administrations, or let me name them, President Donald Trump and Netanyahu as head of the state of Israel, have isolated the issue of Palestine by bringing more or by building more bridges between Israel and neighboring Arab states? And do you believe this is a major reason why Palestinians are standing more isolated today?
I would not agree with that. First of all, the rulers and the authoritarian rulers of the Arab countries are not and cannot be dubbed as the majority of Arab world. The point is that the people and the nations of those Arab countries have been against any relations with the Zionist regime. And the formation of this so-called Abrahamic Accord is not something that can be natural and native actually in its nature. Because the point is that the people are still against the Zionist regime. The Arab people, the Muslim world, are against the occupiers. Because, as I said, you cannot just sweep under the carpet the problem. The problem is that they have occupied the land, so you cannot just forget about that by some accord or some agreement with the Zionists. So even those countries who actually went during the Trump administration went and signed the accord with the Israelis, or right now people like Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Turkey who are going to have closer relationship with the Israelis are going to are doomed actually to failure in the near future, because this cooperation, this connection, this relation with the Zionists is not something true and real. People are against that, and by adhering to such relationship, to find some power in the region, you cannot be powerful. Power needs to be something indigenous, something that is real, something that you have its elements in your country. So by connecting, by actually making relationship with your enemy, you cannot find against another person that you think is your enemy. So they went toward the Israelis because they could not be as powerful as a country like Iran or, for example, some other countries in the region. And because of that, they thought that they can find some power by connecting to the Zionist regime. So it is a failure, a big failure, which proved to be a failure in very...
Hamid Ghulamzadeh, there was recently a report by Amnesty International that has pretty much opened up the situation in Palestine, has brought it under debate on the international forums. Now there are American senators that are, leveling allegations against Amnesty International and saying that this report doesn't show the right picture. But the picture shown by Amnesty International is pretty haunting. Have you seen that report, and how do you comment on the comment from the American senators that are still standing tall with the state of Israel?
We have sort of get accustomed to such libels that the Americans do. Just anyone who opposes the Zionist regime and the Zionist activities is labeled as anti-Semite. So it is not like that. Even Jews in the United States are labeled as such. And there was a respected lady who is a Jew and was a teacher a few months ago. She was actually fired because of opposing the Zionist regime, and she was actually again labeled, a Jew was labeled as anti-Semite. So that is the technique that they have been following for many years and decades. So by just such labels, it's not working like that you can say that everyone is anti-Semite. They are supporting the Israelis in any crime that they are committing, and that has been a routine in the American politics, because the Zionist lobbies and the Israeli lobbies, at the top of them, IPAC, are supporting and funding the political campaigns of those Congress people, and that's very normal for them to support Israelis by any means and at any level. But the report is something that based on facts, and you cannot deny facts. It was in this past they omitted the other reports that were against the Israelis. It was Richard Fox report for the United Nations that reported that the Zionists are committing crimes against humanity in Gaza or other parts of the Palestinian territory, and it was also attacked at that time as well. So it is always like that. The Americans attack any reports, any facts, and any data that shows and proves that the Israelis are committing crime, are committing genocide, are an apartheid regime.
Thank you very much, Hamid Ghulamzadeh, for being a guest in my program and for your valuable contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, as you understand that in any affair of Middle East, Iran certainly has its own point of view, which sometimes is in contradiction to the point of view of the Arab world. I'm now joined by Nazir Mueed, who is an Iraqi expert of Middle Eastern affairs. He's going to join me over the phone. Nazir, I welcome you to my program.
Welcome, Brother Shabat.
And we are discussing the atrocities against the people of Palestine who are facing these violations of human rights that no one talks about in the entire West. What I want to understand from you is that why the political administration or why the politics of Palestine is still so much disintegrated.
Well, that's because the international community is not putting Israel under pressure to solve this issue. And all the pressure is coming on the weak part, which is the Palestinians. Israel is always supported by the West, by America and the European countries, even though it's conducting crimes against humanity in all Palestine, in Gaza and the West Bank.
But the problem that I am trying to point out, Nazir, is, within the leadership of Palestinians, we see a complete disintegration. Like the leadership of Hamas has got no business to do with the rest of the West Bank. And they are both making their efforts in isolation. How do you see this political disintegration of the representation of Palestinians?
Well, yes, the political leadership is not united in Palestine, and that's because also the Israelis, the international community, are supporting the Palestinian Authority and not giving freedom to the people to elect their own government. And the Palestinian politicians and government, they are so corrupted, and they are just supporting Israel in conducting all the crimes against humanity in Palestine.
Thank you very much, Nazir Mueed, for your valuable time for this program. Ladies and gentlemen, as you saw that both my guests in this segment of the program, professor from Iran and this gentleman from Iraq, Nazir Mueed, both agreed to few things in common. That the state of Israel has an all-out support for all of the atrocities that it is carrying on against the poor people of Palestine. And to add into their further crisis, they are still politically disintegrated. And therefore, no sight of relief can be seen for the people of Palestine. We'll join you next week with another program. And until then, Allah Hafiz.